Okay, good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for being here. I am Dr. Ina Bhattacharya, and I am from University Technology Petronas. I'm here to share a talk on an experiential module to develop pitching skills in persuasive oral presentations, the academic and industry stakeholder synergy. My paper ID is 17. So I would like to begin by introducing my preview. I will begin with the introduction, the problem statement, the objective, the methodology, the data collection and analysis, findings, recommendation, and some evidence of the experiential learning in action. So, to begin with, just some brief sharing about myself. I have started my career as a language teacher back in Sarawak, and I progressed to being a lecturer in University Technology Petronas from the year 2001 right till today. I have written and co-edited books with other scholars. One was on new media communication skills for engineers and IT professionals. We've also co-authored a academic writing, report writing for beginners book for our undergraduate students in UTP. And without further ado, I will then share a little bit about the idea of our research today. Um, I have been lecturing professional communication skills, and in that particular course, there are two elements of speech presentations that students are involved in. One is the technical oral presentation, and the other is the persuasive oral presentation. So, over the years, when students deliver their persuasive oral presentations with an element of problem solving kind of strategy, um, what I found was that um, they face difficulty in proposing some kind of value proposition to their idea of their presentation. And this was because also they were ill equipped with knowledge from the industry perspective. And so, because of that, definitely there was some form of authentic active learning intervention required to improve their knowledge on business proposal skills and competencies required to upgrade their form of presentations. So when we talk about pitching, there are certain concerns that we should look into. In first and foremost, is that pitching involves making claims that create interest, that have value proposition to appropriate audiences, and offer evidence recognized as credible and applicable in the businesses of the audiences. So in that sense, they need to propose some value added problem solution kind of information to their audience. And when we talk about value proposition, it's very much related to money. It's a claim about the value of that product to potential customers in that particular market. So there needs to be some analysis done about what are the competitors out there, what is the strength of the product, how is its receptivity, how is it its sustainability in the market. Yeah, so some of the things that they need to do some research, background research prior to presenting. The tools utilized, of course, are their PowerPoint presentation and as well as some form of a format required in business pitching proposals. So the problem statement here is that the presenters face difficulty when they're required to pitch persuasive scientific and technical presentations to an audience from both technical and non-technical background. They have lack of business knowledge on business pitching elements from the industry practitioner and entrepreneur perspective to make the presentation more complex. As most of the communicative language classroom teachings derived from the language lecturer's perspective, therefore, a gap exists on the students' input on entrepreneurial and business elements during such classes. So, this is profound. It occurs every year when I'm involved in the teaching. With that, the study aims to address the void on authentic collaborative input from academia and industry practitioners in an ESL persuasive oral presentation classroom. So this is a language classroom. So mind you, we do not have the knowledge perspective or or knowledge input on business elements involved. So how are we going to create that uh, input to the students is something for us to think about. So in the research, we tried to examine two research questions, very simple ones. What are the students' learning experiences of participating in the experiential model on learning teaching skills in ESL classroom? What are some of the learning experiences attained by the students with input from the academia and industry practitioners? This study utilized the COPS experiential learning cycle because we believe that when you were to participate in such an platform of new knowledge on business elements, it is important that you are immersed to the knowledge and you are well aware of what is actually being uh, shared. And with that, you actually practice it out as well so that you will be prepared as a better speaker for the real situations. So, through this stage, through this form of cycle, students actually go through the series of experiencing the problem, experiencing the real knowledge being shared with them, reporting on issues that are relevant, processing the information, generalizing, and as well as applying. So, at the end, they are able to present such kind of presentations. During this study, there were 72 responses obtained from the professional communication skills course. They came from engineering, information technology, and business information systems program. The study was a qualitative research design. The primary source of the data was students' discussion inputs provided in the Padlet grid. So I made use of online teaching, free online teaching learning sources such as the Padlet, a learning tool, and students' responses to the semi-structured questions. So I also provided survey questions to them. Data was analyzed using the thematic analysis with reference to Cashwell's 2003 six-step generic process for analyzing qualitative data. So in some of the simple questions that were asked us like, what are the challenges faced as a presenter in pitching? So just to get an idea how they feel, what they feel about it, what are some of their concerns. So some sharing was they were scared of audience in front that the points that we delivered were clear or not. So whether the points made sense to the audience was some of their concerns. So this reflected back to the input that they received. Was this relevant or not? Some other matters that create their anxiety was like time constraint, the nervousness to be able to respond to questions from the floor. So because this is a new terrain, obviously they do feel anxious whether they are able to defend what they have proposed. Lack of knowledge on the subject matter, poor communication skills, the confidence and the skill to persuade the people. So these are some random answers that I've selected to gauge how they feel. Yeah. And later to that, we also tried to find out what are some interesting points you have learned about pitching in your presentation. So let's see what feedback they have, having gone through the process themselves. We know how to compact information and not share unnecessary information with the audience. We start pitching on a problem before explaining about the product so you get the audience attention and engagement. And this is something relevant and new to them, although we do teach them, but it becomes more reinforced with the industry practitioners' input. Ways to make good slides. It should follow a flow, use quantitative data, and how to gain people's trust in the first 2 minutes. So it's very important to make a impression on your audience. Yeah, so these were just some general feedback. So coming to the research questions itself, three main themes developed as a result of students' experiences and understanding of experiential learning inquiry was to become a better presenter, passionate presenter in pitching. That's the first one. Students became better passionate presenters as they were now more equipped with the fundamentals of pitching elements. They were able to understand the need for to prioritize their clients' needs students were able to be more critical to recognize their clients' and investors' needs. Yeah, okay, through this form of pitching sessions. Develop convincing skills. Students learn how to engage and convince the audience. So these are some of the important elements that were resulted from the experiential learning inquiry that they had to undergo during the process of the course. For research question 2, the 3 teams were developed as a result of academia industry collaboration. So this is one step ahead. One was very much related to the experiences gained from the learning in the classroom about the methodology that was utilized. The next one was to ask about the practical element of having academia and industry collaboration in the classroom. Creativity in role play, creativity as story as an attention, creating a story as attention getter, confidence in real pitching scenarios. So role plays enable them to give different stories. They enable them to create value to the clients. Students could deliver their points in a better way. They enabled students to face investors or vendors in real pitching sessions, and students were more confident in trying to persuade their audience personally. So, in line with that, one some of the product commercialization ability from deriving from this simple study could actually be a model for pitching skills in persuasive oral presentation, which takes into the element of the input from both the academia and the industry. Yeah, so it's not only the elements that are seen from the language perspective in an ESL classroom, but you also bring in the workplace real industry practitioners' approach and their elements of importance, their value propositions, their needs to strategize how to engage your audience to gain their attention within the first 2 minutes could be some added elements that we could add to our pitching skills guideline or framework. Yeah, so this is some of the possible way of creating a product commercialization from this research that has been done between industry practitioners and the language lecturers. The recommendations and conclusions is the output from the study is the ability to work together in an ESL classroom. Surprisingly enough, we do find that there is synergy between the lecturers and the industry practitioners in the classroom itself. Within a language classroom, things can work together actually. Authentic industry scenarios. These scenarios are real. These scenarios are evident out there. These scenarios has been experienced by the industry practitioners, and these are being shared with the students. The students will be better engaged and more focused because now they're dealing with real situations and not just textbooks examples. The opportunity to discuss real proposal ideas. One of the things that came about from the sharing was a student who actually went up to the industry practitioners to share with them their own projects or ideas, how to go about it. So these were some of the things that came out from it. Synergy between academia and industry practitioner, collaborative efforts in persuasive oral presentation in the classroom. So there is a variety, there is an engagement with outside speakers, there is a variety of competitiveness, the ability to create value proposed kind of proposals are also all going on in the dynamics of the classroom. So this shows examples and evidence of the engagement we had with the external collaborators, Mr. Wesley Chan and Ms. Shaida Intan. They were invited to give their talks and sharing on tips and elements of business proposals within the classroom. They had students to participate in the activities and games, and not only that, they also evaluated the students' presentations within the classrooms. So they gave them good feedback on how to go about what are the areas that they could actually enhance or add on in their presentations. Okay, this was Miss Aidatul and Mr. Wesley. And so with that, you are most welcome to ask questions. Before I end, these are the references, and this is only made possible through the funding by my university. Center of Teaching Excellence, CETAL, who provided the Scholarship of Teaching Learning grant. And with that, the study was made possible. I have to thank the external collaborators who were receptive to accepting the invitation and to sharing their input and knowledge with the class. With students from my professional communications classroom who participated in the study, as well as my research assistants. So with that, I thank you very much for listening, and we welcome for Q&A session. Thank you very much.